Hello and welcome to One True Stalker Story. Content warning for pedophilia, rape threat, murder threat, child exploitation. Please be aware of the subjects in this video. Let's get started. I was 11 years old. At the time, I was suffering from undiagnosed and untreated Lyme disease, anxiety, psychosis, and PTSD. I was neglected as a child, and it was very obvious in the way I reacted to being touched and to being talked to. I had started middle school in America, and that probably was the worst decision I had made. I was cute, a little bit of acne, short fluffy hair, a natural slim figure, etc. My parents were aware of this, as I had been a target for particular adults earlier on, so I knew to be vigilant of any older students giving me any unnatural attention. But remember, I was suffering from undiagnosed psychosis, unmedicated. My judgment was awful, and my inner want for attention from any older friendly figure overrid my fears. I was a flashing neon target for manipulation. In the month of October, I had some issues with my legs, and it required them both to be in casts. I could still walk, but my mom picked me up from the back of the school now instead of having me walk the 15-minute journey home. It was a pretty green suburban neighborhood, and the walk was nice, so I was a little disappointed and a little anxious because I didn't like being alone, especially behind the school, after hours. I was delighted to know there was another kid that waited there for his mom to pick him up. Let's call him S. We had the same video game pen on our bags, so we talked. He was older, I don't remember what grade, but he was about 15 or 16. He was a lot bigger, stronger, and taller than I was, but I didn't mind. We'd say our goodbyes, and I hopped down to my mom's car and wave and tell my mom about him. She was a little suspicious, but was happy I was talking to people normally. After a few conversations while we waited, S started to get a little touchy-feely with me, but I was delighted to have a person-to-person physical contact with somebody I liked. He'd squeeze my hand, ruffle my hair, pat my shoulders, etc., but I didn't see anything wrong with it. He gave me his Tumblr and I gave him mine. After school, we would text each other about our interests, and we waved to each other in the hallways. I was ecstatic. Eventually, he ended up sending me cute things with the tag DDLG, saying that he thought I'd like it. They were things like pacifiers or stuffed toys with pastel pink, glittery filters and captions like, "Look what Daddy bought me," but I was thrilled he was thinking about me. In my free time, I would explore those tags. I learned that it stood for Daddy Dominant Little Girl, a fetish community for pseudo-pedophiles. Those who get off to the idea of having relationships with children and their family pretending to be their caretaker. More and more, he eased me into the idea, and because I had a lot of childhood trauma behind me, I took comfort in it. It just kept escalating, and at one point, he asked me if I would like that kind of relationship. I said yes. Every morning, he would text me something along the lines of, "Good morning, princess. Can't wait to see you. I love you so much, little one. Remember to eat." Little lovey texts in the middle of the day, and the good night one around 7 in the evening. He then began asking gently if I could, say, pick out my outfits for me, or read me bedtime stories. And I loved it so much. I was then hospitalized in early January from a manic depression suicide attempt involving a seatbelt and some seam cutters. In the emergency room, I wrote little letters in the back of my sketchbook I had brought with me, addressing him as Daddy and signing them off as Princess. My mom never read them. I wasn't allowed on electronics, so after a few days when I was discharged, I was met with a spam of texts from him wondering where I was. They were a little possessive, but eagerly I texted back. We'd meet up in town a couple of times. We looked through the baby section at a pharmacy for pacifiers and baby bottles, talking about how much we wish we could buy them. We'd then talk afterwards. At night, he'd send suggestive texts, expected from a romantic relationship. At one point, I responded. Every night, he then began to pressure me into sending videos of me masturbating for one of his in return. Drunk in love, I compiled, and he sent me paragraphs of what he liked to do to me and videos of him doing what you'd expect. Physically, it hurt, and I expressed this to him, hoping he'd stop, but he ate it up. Every night, he'd request things, like wearing pink socks or pose with a teddy bear. It was freaky, but I didn't care, even if I felt gross. He bought me orthopedic pacifiers and requested me to send him videos with them and to coo his name. I was only allowed to call him Daddy. He began pressuring me into it more and more and more. My mom still picked me up from the back of the school and he'd wait for me there. He'd put me on his lap, push me up against the wall, kiss me hard. He recoiled like he touched something hot when he heard my mom's car against a poorly paved road. He told me it was our little secret and not to let Mommy find out. I agreed. On Fridays, we go into the park. One day, I wore a baby blue dress I had. He couldn't get enough of me twirling and running around. He'd sit me down away from his friends to tell me how much he loved to smash my face against the pavement right there and have sex with my corpse. That escalated quickly. I asked him why, and he instantly went back to the caring father persona, pretending he didn't know what I heard. He told me I was hearing things, and I believed him. He'd tell me the same thing at night. We repeated our nightly routine, but I asked if I could leave early because I was tired. He'd send me things like how he didn't get what he wanted. He'd say things like he'd teach me a lesson and stretch me out himself to show what happened to good girls. I finally broke from the love-struck stage, and I was terrified. I cried into my blankets. I grew distant, but he didn't. My mother found those texts after I left my laptop open on the couch. She reported S to the police. He stopped coming to school, and I remember hazily going to court, ended up having a restraining order against him. Sometimes he tried to reach out, but now my internet was officially monitored, so I blocked him hesitantly. My friends supported me, and I moved out of the country across the Atlantic Ocean 2 months later. I since burned that dress and melted those pacifiers. I couldn't go to parks anymore because the word daddy would make me break down crying instantly if I heard it. But it's been a while since then. He's gone now. My now boyfriend goes to school with S. S recognizes him and will approach him, asking about me. My boyfriend was terrified, but has asked S to leave him alone after a few close calls to crying. S started to avoid my boyfriend. S is still preying on girls my age. A girl who has been abused by him reached out to me on Instagram to tell me what he's doing. S doesn't refer to me by my name anymore. He'll call me that autistic chick. He'll tell girls he's in relationships with that I was so much better than them for being compliant and cuter. And it makes me sick. But I'm not in America anymore. I can't do anything about it. Maybe karma will catch up to him. Maybe he'll finally go to jail after stealing money and abusing little girls. But the fact that he's still out there catches up to me sometimes. And it's frightening. Hey you guys, I hope you enjoyed the story. If you did, like, share, and subscribe, and thanks for watching. And lastly, you may be watching me, but who's watching you?